Got him do. It's part 3 of the Day 9 Daily on Classic. Doing some Classic and, excuse me, sexy PvZ. We've been seeing the swarm style, the swarm toss, of getting lots of gateways and pressuring and attacking and stuff. So what I wanted to do is take a look at a different game where two interesting things are going to happen. For one, Classic is not going to use the traditional composition. He's going to do something very odd, I will say. And also, we're going to see Classic still use the same two core ideas that we were talking about before. The first one being using the same units that everyone else would use, but doing attacks to try to shut down bases. And the second one being that Classic's big goal is to shut down bases 4 and 5. Very hard to do on this map, so often on bigger maps you'll see Protosses reshift their prioritization to shut down bases 5 and 6. Early expand, nice and grand. Following with the gateway, nifty. Holding back on Chrono Boost, this is purely a build order timing thing where you can't quite get this pylon out in time. Stupidly fast cybernetics core, great. All the usuals. Speed it up. Stargate coming, great. So far so good. Mothership core will come a little bit later, but an Oracle is the first big girl. And this is something I thought quite cool. So normally we see a Mothership core come up real fast, but the fact is, you don't really need a terrifically fast Mothership core. Not on this map. Also, a Void Ray guarantees safety for this expansion. Oracle's off doing harassing damage and whatever. I mean, I think everyone would know that that should be done. But our two fancy flyers help secure this base. Look at how not doing anything the gateway is. He's just hanging out. This Void Ray is destined to kill off lots of Overlords. We have another Void Ray coming out. Robo Bay coming out. Pretty normal looking stuff. Void Ray's not straying too far from the third. That's the thing they have to protect, after all. It's a sort of Void Ray, Colossus, Rushy kind of mix. Now, normally when I see this play done, the Void Rays are slightly de-emphasized. This look, oops, right at the 10-minute mark, the look of this is to use the Void Rays to stay alive until we can get the big daddies, right? The Colossus. Oh yeah. Till we can begin to get the next steps in the tech. Alright. Oh yeah. Rather here we see Classic staying with that Stargate tech. Is actually adding on to Stargates. And then is going to use all the Void Rays to do aggressive things. And I think this is super, super cool. I mean, Classic, rather than be using the gaseous, what are they called? The gaseous sentries to scout, is sending an observer to scout. Doesn't get spotted a fourth, but you got to be suspect that that's what's going on. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen the SoO, or excuse me, the SOS style attack with Void Rays and recall. Same thing here. But there's a little teensy bit more focus on the gateway units. We're not rushing for Stargates 2 and 3. We're getting 1, then expanding, getting gates, getting Colossus, and then getting these additionals. And we see a very lean use of production structures. How many gateways are there? Well, we're going to see, again, 6. But they're all going to be in use. We see 3 Stargates, but thus far they've all been in use. The robotics facility got its Colossus, but also got an observer and is now getting a warp prism. They're all in use. This is the move that most people will know SOS for. But it's being coupled with this other juicy little attack that I like a lot. Here comes out the warp prism. So it's a nice, good old attack in the main base. Instant recall out upon seeing this Queen Infester usage. And this is the moment in time where I think I would have the biggest question mark on Classic's build. I would say that everything has worked. Classic has seen the exact composition of the enemy, has prepared units to apply an attack at a 4th base, again with the big goal of shutting out bases 5 and 6. Cool. Everything seems to be going great. I mean, I think the only thing right now is that we could probably get an expansion up. I'm not so sure how much I agree with this mass Stargate production. I might just frankly add on more and more and more gateways and begin to really go toe-to-toe and crank away and try to slay my enemy. But Classic's just doing the very, very aggressive moves with these. Try to lock out extra bases. So many warp-ins into base. I mean, we're seeing Festers try to hold on, but you know, I don't really know if I have a super strong opinion on that. I feel like these attacks could go a little bit better. I feel like the attacks could go a little better, and I'm not so sure how strongly I love this continued Void Ray production, but at the very least it's kind of cool to see a very different unit mixture out of Classic, and to see him still trying to do all the amazing aggressive stuffs of before. Now, what's the difference between this attack and the attacks that we've seen prior? So this thing has no defenses up yet. Previously, we would see Classic throw down the cannon, pylon, gate, and then step his units away. And it's those little cautionary moves that prevent stuff like this from happening. Little tiny cautionary moves, and we see, look at this, Classic killed off the base, and then immediately recalled. I think there was a Warp Prism dealing some, like, very insignificant damage. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for someone to steal from, you'll note that Classic has erroneously lost this base when it didn't need to happen, and has successfully prevented SoO from getting base 5. Has even pressured base 4 quite a bit. And is hitting the 19-minute mark with a very scary-looking army of 16 Void Rays, 3 Colossus, a lot of Speed Zealots, soon enough 4 Archons. So for as much as you might want to say, ooh, I think you should do this differently or that, I would respond in this way, and I don't agree with his compositional choice against this army, which I think are all completely fine comments to think. You can't argue with the fact that Classic's in a really damn good spot. And look at this, just continued advances. I see a 5th. I shall have none of it. And I am home. Although I think this was a little bit over the top, but still. And I am home. The Zealots moved on to this side of the base, while there was a warping going on into the main. All of these moves are designed primarily to kill off base number 5. Because we're starting to see that, yeah, SoO's getting rather broke on all of these bases. I think these Zealots marching into the 4th is perhaps a little ambitious in terms of being able to kill the 4th, but it's not ambitious in terms of being able to shut the Zerg out of the 5th. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. StarCraft froze. Okay, it's back. I like really panicked, man. No, it froze. Come on. There we go. Yeah, alright, cool. Alright, look at this. SoO still desperately trying to get up additional bases in additional places. Kind of wish we had like a Warp Prism just like here. Against the super slow compositions, it's so awesome. And it's sort of like in the final fight, you see how quickly all the Ultralisks fall, like how insanely quickly. So quickly. But with a 1,000,000,001 Jesus. Quack, 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 queen. Tough word. It's a big word. Yerd. I just think that this composition is like really freaking strong, and I'm not entirely positive what the best solution versus it is. But I just think Void Rays kind of stink against it. I think something a little bit more, well, I guess less on the flying side. Because queens are just like remarkably good against Void Rays. This is why I would have said I would have favored something a little bit more gateway-esque. I think that Archons are such boss units. And see, the Zerg player who's been sort of held back the whole time now has these additional bases and has just officially mined himself out. Critical set. And even the 4th isn't looking so hot. I just think that this, in case you didn't know, this is like the most efficient unit composition in the universe. It just like doesn't die. Or I should say the most efficient non-swarm host composition in the universe. I don't know, I just want to do that game a little bit cursorily. Because there could have been an extra base up for Classic. There could have been different compositional choices for Classic. But indisputably, Classic was able to lock SoO pretty damn effectively on 4 bases. Just by trying to kill those tertiary bases and trying to do these attacks with the units that you would normally build, and everyone would typically build, but that they normally use for defense. Very active play, and I think it's really cool, and I'm going to take questions. Just a few minutes of questions. Oh, I haven't heard your questions yet, but they bore me. Sagastic, welcome to being the first person to have said freedom. Utori Kyoya says, Dan, in all 3 games, Classic built only 1 forge. How come Classic did build another forge for a fast 2-2 after cutting production on gateways? There's this weird catch-22 where, like, if you build a second forge, you should use it. So you're going to spend a lot of gas getting that juicy upgrade. And you're probably going to chrono boost it. And although 1 upgrade doesn't cost a lot of gas, level 2 and level 3 afterwards, that adds up to be quite a lot. I mean, that's, I don't know, about 500 gas that you just don't have anymore because you're doing that. So it's this weird idea where if you're getting the forge, you should probably frickin' use it, right? That makes a lot of sense to use the damn forge. But then you're spending a shitload of gas, so you can't really do that much. And you're spending so much chrono boost on it. Now, what you could say is, well, get 2 forges and then don't chrono boost it, so you're not spending gas that fast. Well, why not just get 1 and chrono boost it? It's kind of like that's about where it lies. So Protoss is can get away with going 1 forge and chrono boosting the crap out of it. So that's kind of what I'd state. The other races, like, you know, Terran has to debate between 1 engineering bay and then 2, or maybe 2 at the same time, or 1 for a long time. Protoss is like, I'm just gonna go 1 and chrono boost it. You know, I've seen this come up a lot lately. Starshine Fox says, how would this style of play work against other races? Also, why are you such a dapper Jan? Whew, well, that doesn't come up often. Oh. But, I mean, I think, and the way I've been answering it is like, it probably doesn't work. I don't know, it doesn't seem good. And I think that the correct answer for me to be giving is actually never think about one style transferring to another matchup. It just doesn't mean anything. It's kind of a meaningless, vacuous pursuit. I mean, it's sort of like saying, okay, what's your strategy in Connect 4? And how would that translate to Street Fighter? Like, I don't know. It wouldn't. It's different. The answer is that you shouldn't even consider it. So that would be what I would say. Please consider each matchup as wholly independent entities. Red of Yellow says, Dana, how would you feel about leaving most of your force in the middle of the map and attacking with some units to pick off workers or expansions? Expansions having the other player to be forced to counterattack and then have each battle center in the map. Yeah, I think that the big struggle with having your units in the middle of the map is that more generally the reason why you see so much movement and sort of this extension and retreat and this elegant motion I'm doing, the reason you see that so much with armies moving around the map is because there are phases where you are strong and then you are not. And then you are strong again, and then you are not. So, for example, Protoss can move out comfortably before Roach Speed is done, but then when Roach Speed is done, the Zerg player can easily overpower and crush you, so you don't want to be in the middle then, so you pull away. And then all of a sudden you get some of your power upgrades, like Blink and +2, and maybe an Immortal, and then you can move out again. And then so Zerg has to be the one retreating. I'm seeing everyone tease me about my motions. Thank you. So you can move out again, and then the Zerg has to retreat. But then Zerg gets maybe one of its power units, like it finishes a key upgrade, or it gets infestors, or it finally hatches 17 Hydras, and then can overwhelm you again. So, in a sense, what you actually see from players is that they are trying to be in the middle of the map pretty much as often as they can, but there are those key times where you have to truly pull back, and that's why it tends to look like there's a lot of motion, but it's like, alright, I get the middle, oh no, I'm gonna go away, oh no, I'm gonna go in the middle, nope, I'm scared, I gotta come away again. Let's take one last question and then just do some hangouts. Just a little bit of hangouting, yeah. I'm getting lost. Why are my arms so hairy? Because I am part bear. Foxy Pony says, Danon, how effective do you feel Classic's method of attacking at strange times could be for the other races? It's much harder to discuss that for the other races because they don't have the recall mechanism. I think that you will see hints of that with Terran as a Terran player just pokes with medevacs, but the general sense is that if you have a faster army, you can do this. So this is why you'll see players with Hellions sprint forward and roast some stuff and then split again. They can. They can do that because they're the faster army. I don't know. It would probably depend a buttload on timing. It's hard for me to discuss it without seeing a build because it's normally like, okay, with this style, in this specific situation, based upon what you see there, you can attack here, even though people normally don't. And that's pretty cool. Alright, I'm going to close out. And then afterwards, we'll do a little hangout time. Just going to play some music and relax.